Hey everyone, Christina here, Ginger Mama. Hope you're having a great day. I'm about to go into Aldi, get a few groceries. But here's the deal. Okay, keep up with me on this post, because I'm going to say a lot. I've been reflecting this morning, and we're going to tie it into some stuff we talked about in the live last night. For starters, the channeled song, old song, I don't even know who sings it. I'm going to have to look it up. I'll put it on here. It's that, it's like a rock song. It's like, I tear my heart open, sew myself shut. I'm sorry, I have a cold. I can't sing well right now. My weakness is that I care too much, and the scars remind me of whatever, the pain. And then it goes on. I believe later in that song, doesn't it say something like, I can't help you fix yourself, but at least I can say I tried. All right, that is where I'm sensing a lot of energy. Call it masculine energy. It doesn't matter, gender aside. All right, now what we're going to circle back towards, though, all right, is dream download from last night, and then circling back into the conversation on the live last night. So in Astral last night, it was like two people were talking, and it was almost like this masculine was like kind of trying to make amends, be playful, like pick up this woman, like kind of carry her. It was like a kitchen table, which can represent family, community, feeling like this is a feminine or a masculine that is like part of your soul tribe, part of your community, family, etc. Right? This person seemed very playful, but then they were saying something about like they were holding hands, which is a great sign, right? But this feminine seemed hesitant. And then this masculine was kind of playful, like, okay, so you're not going to get with me. Well, I'm going to move. And they were like, what? And then they said something like, it was like Montana soda. Like, it was weird. It was like a combination of Minnesota, Montana, or Massachusetts. Okay, so M states could be very significant. M locations, M streets, something like that. And this feminine was they were like, so do you want to get back together or not? And this feminine was kind of like, you don't understand yet. And it was like, they seemed like very happy. Like, you're having a breakthrough, you're awakening. Like, I'm here if you want it. Otherwise, I'm moving on with my life. Which I think that song, doesn't it say something like, I got to move on with my own life? Anyways, so someone could be moving or telling you they're moving. But further than that, last night on the live, as I shuffle, I want to bring this up. I talked about this idea of, if you look at biblical reference, everything is energy, everybody. So don't come at me and be all like, I'm not trying to talk about one religion. But if you look at, for example, Genesis, in Genesis, God's curse is literally, and I quote, I will put enmity between you and the woman and between you and your offspring. What is enmity? Enmity is the inability to understand one another. So quite literally, God's curse, if you look at yin yang, is to split consciousness into the two. So instead of them holding no shame and not judging one another for a hierarchy and shame around sex or shame around love or shame around how we share resources, etc., God literally says, I'm going to place confusion between you and the woman and between you and your offspring. Now, the reason for that, right, is because you're not understanding higher consciousness. So therefore, you will always misunderstand this other person. And every time you think you understand, there's going to be a kickback, right? Until you understand flow state with the divine. We see further in Revelations this kind of idea, and we look at the 144,000, which many people have different theories on this, right? This could be frequency tones, ascension tones. Clearly it's more than just 144,000 people. Some people argue that's more of like the children of the ascended, partnerships, but neither here nor there with that. Okay. Not going to go down that rabbit hole. My point is what I sensed in the dream was this feminine's hesitation was almost like this masculine's like, you clicked it, you healed, and they're very excited by this notion, right? But this feminine's like, oh, I don't want you back right now. And this masculine seems surprised by that, or like, oh, well, like you hold, guilt or shame, or you messed up. And this feminine's like, no, you just don't understand my perspective right now. So I feel like both are right? But again, I always use that analogy, the chicken and the egg. That's kind of what this is, right? And so like, I feel like we got some energies that feel like this is going to be so easy. Like, I'm having an awakening and I'll just reach out and everything will be good. It is going to take a little more work than you think, right? Higher consciousness would be the embodiment of understanding I trust my flow state with spirit first and foremost. And the only way we come back into union is if you're doing the exact same. But the only way I can trust that dynamic is if God's telling me to fully trust and God's telling me to fully trust, right? And there was a little bit of like laughter, cockiness coming from this masculine, like, oh yeah, I knew you'd figure it out, and like, here I am. And I think that's what was irritating the feminine energy in this particular dream download, is like, what's that little arrogance right there? That I'm not liking. Right? Because it's still showing a little bit of a lack of understanding of what the feminines actually experienced at this point. Yeah, Six of Swords reversed. They're still in this place of either feeling like someone doesn't understand collective service, collective consciousness at a higher level, not just one-on-one, and also this feeling of loneliness or isolation that someone might be feeling or dealing with. Yeah, 10 of Pentacles reversed, 6 of Cups. There's this hopefulness, but also still a lack of understanding around the financial piece, which again, we see in these rotation cycles, right? We see a lot of masculine energy entering more of that nurturing energy. I know people will say, oh, painful birth, childbirth and all this. It's also the curse in that is just the nurturing energy, the emotional toll, right? The caring for people. And so I do feel like this is a masculine who's spent a little bit more time, whether that's caring for family, pets, children, etc. They're a little bit more in that feminine space. But this feminine feels like they don't understand this financial piece that they've been dealing with in flow state. And or still holding a power dynamic there. You know, to the man in Genesis, we of course see that curse being, you will work all the days of your life through hard labor and toil. You know, you'll make all this money, but eventually the money will basically be nowhere to be found, because from dust you are, dust you will be, right? And so it's a really interesting energy here of almost like, is this actually spiraling into some type of union, or is this very flipped? You know, is kind of the energy. The energy from this masculine being kind of like that playful, pick you up, like, oh yeah, like almost like more romantic and feminine, is great to see, I felt like, in that download. But it feels like a lack of understanding of this other piece, maybe because they've made finances in a very different way and not as much in like a flow state or a service. Yeah, the moon is reversed. New moon cycles could be very significant, especially when we look towards the middle of Mercury retrograde. I know we just came off a new moon a week ago in the sign of Libra. We will have another new moon. We still have time. November 5th will be the full moon. We enter Mercury retrograde on November 9th. And then middle of the month, I don't know the exact date, we're going to have the new moon in the sign of Sagittarius, all right? Or in the sign of Scorpio, excuse me. Anyways, that middle month of November, new moon. We'll look that up. I'll put the date on here. But yeah, the Lovers is here, the Three of Wands. There is love. Do not doubt that right now, especially if that's being shown to you. But I do feel like there's still this unveiling of this deeper, really deep understanding. When we talk about that 144,000, those frequency tones, etc., however you want to look at this, like, there's a lot of activations occurring. This is not as simple as some people want to make it seem. This is a frequency level. Those micro, I don't want to call it aggressions, but it kind of is that micro energy of like, I figured it out. That's still ego, right? We all hold it. We all hold it in certain ways. And so that's kind of what's being shown to the feminine collective, is a bit of this energy of masculines like, oh, I figured it out. And we're all just like, we figured it out too. But then we're on this opposite side. So then they're kicking back with some ego of defensiveness of like, no, don't come at me like that. So it's very opposite, in my opinion, from what I've seen in a long time, through those downloads. But the Nine of Cups is here. I'm liking this. This is emotional work, work with spirit. But I do want to pay attention to if people are really in that flow state. With the Three of Swords reversed, Three of Cups reversed, Ace of Cups reversed, I do think there's some healing still occurring underneath the surface around third parties, soul ties, family, communal energy, that kitchen table, again, representative of that. A deeper understanding of that still coming to the conscious awareness. With the Ace of Cups reversed, again, we need to be a little bit more in that flow state with spirit. I want to see this Ace of Cups upright in more of this empathy instead of I told you so energy that a lot of us are feeling like we're still struggling with. So the World reversed, the cycle's not fully complete yet, but keep going wherever you're at and be aware if that energy is like coming towards you in a little bit of a way and you're kind of like, I don't know. I understand that. Spirit understands that. If you're feeling like you want to pursue but someone's not engaging, understand that's why. So keep operating in flow state, okay?